Ladies and gentlemen, Senate President Amy Sinclair.
I have a cord trailing me, guys. Sorry. Get through that. Welcome. I am so excited to see a crowd this large on a Friday afternoon. Thank you for coming, and Merry Christmas. First of all, I would like to introduce to you Mrs. Denise Bubeck to come and bless our meeting in some prayer. Denise, if you could join me.
Thank you. I'm going to let you hold the mic. So thank you so much for doing that. Well, thank you for coming, and I just want to say right away, thank you for all you do, too. We appreciate you so much in the Senate. And also, I just appreciate the DeSantis team. They do such a great job. Is that going to be hard for me? It's going to be.
Keep moving.
Okay, I'm going to hold on. Okay, I know, I'm a mover. Okay. But anyway, I wanted to say one thing. Some of you know that my father passed away just recently, and he was a pastor. And he's the one that taught me we need to pray for our leaders. It's so important to pray for our leaders and encourage them. So today, I just want to pray and be thinking about my dad. So thank you, and just bow your heads and pray with me. Eternal Father, I pray that you will give our governing leaders strength so they do not grow weary in their leadership role. Father, the tasks, they may seem overwhelming and exhausting, but I pray that every leader will recognize that they are assigned to do your will. Therefore, I know that at the right time, they will reap the rewards if they do not give up. Lord, I pray for divine strength for every leader, especially Governor DeSantis, First Lady DeSantis, and Governor Reynolds. We pray that they will not rely on themselves, but on you. Thank you for the special gifts that you have given these three leaders to make a difference in the lives of so many people. Father, help them each to embrace the challenge and responsibilities they have as leaders, to guide them to lead with integrity and common sense. Give them wisdom to make intelligent decisions. Give them the courage to make tough decisions. Oh, I have to flip it over. Sorry. Give them the character to make the right decisions. Leadership is not about the love of power, but more about the power of love. Lord, we continue to lift these leaders up to you. Let them be affirmed by the servant leadership we witness in your Son, Jesus. Let them walk in the path you have set, and let those who will follow. Let their greatest passion be compassion. Let their greatest strength be love. Their greatest victory, the reward of peace. In leading, let us never fail to follow. In loving, let us never fail. We pray this in today. In Jesus' name, amen. And then I have one more short prayer. Thank you for being my assistant. I have one more short prayer that I found today that I just love. It's a Christmas prayer by Pope John the 23rd. So we can have our eyes open or you can close them. But it says, "O sweet child of Bethlehem, grant that we may share with all our hearts in this profound mystery of Christmas. Put into the hearts of men and women this peace for which they sometimes seek so desperately, and which you alone can give to them. Help them to know one another better and to live as brothers and sisters, children of the same Father. Reveal to them also your beauty, holiness, and purity. Awaken in their hearts love and gratitude for your infinite goodness. Join them all together in your love and give us your heavenly peace. Amen."
Thank you, Denise. First of all, to all of you who brought in gifts today, the main thrust of this is to do a toy drive to help out kids and families here in Central Iowa. So to everyone who brought a gift, thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much. It's amazing how many are here. The second thrust of this is exactly what you saw in the video. We are mamas and grandmas for DeSantis. And that video told us why we are. Because somebody needs to be on the forefront and standing up for those values that we hold dear and for the safety and protection of our children. And so today we're here to have a little fireside chat to talk about that with some of my very favorite people. And so right now I would like to introduce to all of you, and then we'll get into a conversation, Governor Ron DeSantis, First Lady Casey DeSantis, and our very own Governor Kim Reynolds. Please join me in welcoming them. Welcome, everyone. And sorry for my technical difficulties there. I was trapped under a speaker, I think. I am so
Thanks
excited.
for giving us good weather. I can deal with this as a Floridian.
Right? Who doesn't love
bad.
this for December weather, right? You guys want to get to know these people a little bit better on a little more human basis? I think that's what we're here for. So I love Christmas. I have 3 boys. You all know that. You've met them. But my 3 boys love Christmas as much as I do. I remember one year Evan's only request for his birthday, September 29th, was to have the Christmas tree put up. And we did. That was a cheap birthday. But I wanted to start off just with that. Talk to me, Governor, talk to me about some of your favorite Christmas traditions, whether as a child or with your own kids today.
Well, what we do, so we're fortunate enough to live in the governor's residence in Tallahassee. And so one of the perks of that is Thanksgiving comes, it goes, and all of a sudden the house is decorated with all the Christmas stuff. The trees get put up, and it's like that saves a lot of work. So that's a huge perk. But what you have is there's a number of different rooms in kind of the public side of the governor's mansion that they put a tree up in. And so our kids every year will pick which room Santa's supposed to go in and leave the presents. So you kind of we have a nice chimney, and then there's a big room there, and you have that. Then you have another Florida room. Then we have a foyer, which is kind of there. So now we're in discussions to see, okay, where are we going to send Santa? Which tree are we going to do? And I'm negotiating with them on that because I kind of just want them to do it in the main room. It makes it easier for everybody. But they're not sold on that. So we'll see. It may be a game time decision wherever we put out the milk and cookies.
It's where your negotiating skills started, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm also in hot water with the kids because I think a lot of you know that follow sports. With college football, Florida State was undefeated, won the conference championship, and was excluded from the college football playoffs. And a couple weeks ago, our kids are Florida State fans because we live in Tallahassee. And as governor, I didn't go to any of the Florida schools, so I'm neutral. I want them all to do well. But they are Noles, and they were asking about the playoff. And I said, well, if Florida State wins the rest of their games, they will go to the playoff because there's going to be only 3 or 4 undefeated teams. There'll be one of them. They have to go to the playoffs. And sure enough, Michigan beat Ohio State. Ohio State dropped out. Georgia lost. So you only had Michigan, you had Washington, and Florida State were the only 3 undefeated teams. And they excluded Florida State, put Alabama and Texas with 1 loss in, which, as a Floridian, obviously we don't like that. And I was in Tuscaloosa for this Republican debate, and these guys go to the playoffs every year. It's like no big deal to them. But Florida, we have a good history in college football. We haven't done very well. So my kids are asking me, Daddy, Florida State won. You said they were going to the playoffs. And I don't have a good answer for them. So maybe I'll make it up to them with some good Christmas gifts.
Well, you can take him to an Iowa game down there in Orlando.
There we go. Here we go.
First Lady, what's your favorite tradition?
Well, I don't know. I personally, for me, one of the things I enjoy more than anything is wrapping the presents because, that brings me back to my childhood because it's funny, when I was growing up, I enjoyed it, but when you get older, I remember when I was little, I made sure every, crease was perfect, and now it's you just only have so much time where that you can be away from the kids without them sneaking up on you, and so I'm putting them together, but I enjoy that, and what he said is, picking out the Christmas tree is fun, and then Santa knows what tree to get to because of the trail of cookies that we lay for him. So we're either a day or two beforehand, we're in the kitchen together making cookies and decorating them, which is, it's a mess. I mean, they eat more of the icing, and then it's all over the place, and it's on their clothes, but that's really special. And then everybody picks out their favorite cookie, and then they put it on the plate for Santa, which is neat.
We also do so you can go on the internet, and the NORAD command has the Santa tracker. So we get the kids on that, and they really, really like it. They also do respond, as now we're getting in, we're in the season. If they misbehave and I say, hey, Santa's watching, they do shape up very quickly, and are able to do that. But our kids, they are like so concerned about any malfunctions in the chimney. Yes. It's like 100 questions. Well, what if Santa can't get in the chimney? Yes. What if we didn't have a chimney? How would Santa get into the? What is this? What is that? What if he can't fit in? How is he going to get the presents? Where is he going to leave the reindeer? So it's a lot of questions, a lot of inquisitiveness, but we always make it work.
And to that end, so we have the security detail for the governor's mansion, right? They are literally below our living room, so the kids will sneak down there and they'll look at the monitors on Christmas Eve and like, is he here yet? Are you guys watching? And they're waiting, and anytime they hear something, they want to go down and call the agents and be like, is Santa here yet? So it's kind of, you never, would think that would be something that would be a part of your Christmas experience, but it's been pretty cool to say.
Governor Reynolds, do you have any you'd like to share?
I miss the young kids, so I've got lots of stories from that, but we have 11 grandchildren, and so I'm living through them right now. We get to do the same thing. We have all of the families, all of the grandkids, they come to Terrace Hill, and we do it now on Christmas Eve, and so they all show up, and we go to evening church services, then we come back, and we have all kinds of snacks and cookies, and we make soup, and we play games, and they are in their Christmas pajamas. We go downstairs and get pictures in front of the TV, and we're just spend time together as a family and have a lot of fun. And then it's getting harder to do this, but I love going to pick out the trees. So it's a tradition of ours that we go to a farm, one of the Christmas tree farms, and we literally cut it down. The girls will tell you, I say, such a family event. We have so much fun. And they're like, Mom, you're the one that picks out the Christmas tree every single year. You drag us along, and then you pick it out. We don't get to pick it out. Kevin just wants a cedar. That's what he grew up with, and I'm like, no. They're brown, and they're prickly. So anyway, so we now go with the grandkids from even when they were little, and we walk all over the farm and cut down a tree and haul them back, and so that's some of the things that we do.
Wonderful. And so just transitioning a little into the meat of why we're here today. We're here to talk about how we protect and defend kids in this Christmas season, and we're here to talk specifically about Mamas for DeSantis. Can you talk to us a little bit? Where did that begin, and how are we transitioning it into what we're doing here on a national level? Can you share some of that with us, First Lady?
Yeah, it really started during the governor's reelection back in 2022, when there were so many people, moms in particular, who were very upset with what was happening and what they were seeing nationally, not necessarily what was happening in Florida because of the protections that the legislature and the governor put into place, but they were fearful of the indoctrination that was happening in the schools. They were concerned about public safety and all of this defund law enforcement and what that means for their children. They want their kids to be able to walk home safely from school. And of course, the American dream and wanting their kids to be able to have an America better than the one that they inherited. And so this started there. We said we're going to mobilize moms and grandmoms from across the state of Florida to re-elect the governor because he had stood strong on all of those issues. He was standing up for parents' rights and the innocence of our children. He had law enforcement's back. And so we started to do that. In a state of 22 million people, we've got 1.1 million mothers and grandmothers to come out in support of the governor. And this coalition, it wasn't just Republicans, it was independents and indeed a lot of Democrats, because they did not like what was happening in the schools. They did not like the pornography that was being put in these middle school libraries. They did not like the sexualized curriculum being thrust in front of kindergartners. They wanted their girls to be able to have opportunities in sports to compete against biological girls. And so it was very common sense stuff, but it was a massive momentum. And it's also, and I've said this before, a lot of friendly faces here, it's one thing when the policies are coming after us as moms. We can litigate that, we can go to school board meetings, we can talk to the legislature, but when you are coming after our kids and you're using our kids as a vehicle to advance your ideology, particularly behind our backs without our consent, man, that's when the claws come out. So we have taken this now nationally, particularly here in Iowa, where we have representation in all 99 counties, Mama's leadership in all 99 counties. And when you talk about nationwide, we're calling on moms and grandmoms across the United States of America to come here to Iowa. Now, we know that they cannot vote in the caucus process, but they can come and volunteer, and they can be a part of it in that way. So you're seeing people from North Carolina, from South Carolina, from Florida in particular coming because they feel so strongly about protecting the future of their kids.
Thank you very much. And Governor, I don't want to ignore you. But this is a mama's event, sorry. But I will come to you because I want to know, how is your family and your children and all of these factors, how does that motivate you into doing what you did as governor and into translating that on into running for the presidency?
Well, look, I'd like to think that everything I've done, we would have done anyways, even if we didn't have kids, and I think I would have, but a lot of this stuff, when you have kids that you're raising, you're very sensitive to all these issues that parents have had with schools, with some of the programming, all this. And so that really gave me incentive to dig in and fight some of these fights. I mean, when we did the Parents' Rights in Education bill that prevented the sexualization of the curriculum in the elementary school, it's not appropriate to tell a first grader that they can change genders and all the stuff that we wouldn't even be talking about this 10 or 15 years ago. But we had to go up against our most powerful company, Disney, who was pushing to have that injected. And most people were like, well, you're never going to be able to beat them in this because they're just so powerful. And look, I like to think I would have stood up anyways, but the fact that I knew what these parents are going through, that I was sensitive to that, we stood our ground and we won that battle. And that was an important battle to win on behalf of kids in the state of Florida.
Thank you, Governor. Governor Reynolds, we had our 42nd legislative endorsement for Governor DeSantis.
I know.
That was
and
pretty
I bet
exciting.
There's more to come. It was so exciting.
She's also a mama and a grandma, by the way.
Yep.
And so we had our, we had our 42nd endorsement. She accredited that in large part to you coming on board and being such a strong voice for what Governor DeSantis has been done in Florida and what he's doing nationwide and in the search for the presidency. Can you talk to us about the momentum that you're seeing since you've endorsed the governor? I've been on your team a long time, and the governor joined us, and I was so thrilled with that. But her joining brought a lot of momentum with it. And so can you talk to us about what that momentum looks like right now and how we as a team take the Iowa caucus by storm and launch Governor DeSantis onto the next stage?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for endorsing early. I appreciate that. As the governor of the state of Iowa, I felt like I had a responsibility with our First in the Nation caucus to welcome all of the candidates to the state, to make sure that they had a platform to, deliver their message and to put their best foot forward. And so we did that for 7 months, and I was part of that process. The candidates crisscrossed the state. They made their pitch. I had an opportunity to listen to their response, to look at their record, to see how they answered the questions, to see the amount of work that went into trying to connect with Iowans and talk about their vision for this country. And as I watched this play out for 7 months, it started to become very, very clear to me who I believed was the right person that on day one could step into the Oval Office, get this country back on track, and for 2 terms, not only restore the greatness to America, but to take it to the next level. And then I'm going to bring it back to mamas for DeSantis. As I said, I'm a mom and I'm a grandma. And I want my kids to grow up in the same America that I did, to have the same opportunities that Casey talked about. And as a governor, I have a real insight to what my colleagues are doing. Believe me, we're watching them all the time. So I forget where you were at. You were doing an event in Florida. He was ticking through everything that they'd accomplished under his leadership. And I said, send that clip to me. I want to make sure I'm not missing something that we should be doing here in Iowa. But I truly believe with all my heart and soul, and that's why it was an easy decision for me to make, that we have to get it right this election. We can come back. We're resilient after 4 years of the chaos and the crisis and just the insanity that we've seen for 4 years. But I don't believe that with another 4 years. And so I believe there's one guy that can step in and can reverse the madness that we've seen under the Biden administration and really do great things. And I'm just touting his record. You know, it's not about me and it's not about the other candidates. It's about Ron and Casey. It's about the two of them that can step in and do what needs to be done and get this country back on track. And so we need to do everything we can to make sure that we get him elected.
Well, I mean, I think you see that in like these debates, right? People be talking about all kinds of issues. I'm the only one on the stage that's actually delivered on every one of those issues, you know? You want to talk about, we talk about China. Well, we banned China from buying land in Florida. We don't want them buying farmland. We kicked them out of our universities. We cracked down on their ability to steal our intellectual property and trade secrets. You want to talk about protecting children. You know, we banned the sex change operations on the minors, the mutilation. You know, the other candidates on the stage with me, they oppose the bill that we did, and they think that this is fine, and they try to say that's parents' rights. You don't have a right to abuse your children. That's not parents' rights. That gives parents' rights a bad name. Parents' rights is directing the education and upbringing of your children, not to do things that are going to be irreversible and that are unproven. You want to talk about education. We delivered universal school choice. We have got the ideology out. Even you look at what's happening with these universities, with all the crazy ideology, the anti-Semitism in Florida. You saw our university presidents, it was much different because we hold the universities accountable. We don't want them to be indoctrination centers. We want a pursuit of truth. We have law to all tenured professors must undergo review every 5 years and can be let go for poor performance. I mean, we deliver on this stuff. And I think especially on the issues affecting the parents and the kids, but all these different issues, we need somebody that's going to be willing to fight for you, and I've shown I can do that. They also got to be able to win for you. And yes, the election, of course, but win on all these issues, because even if we win the election, if we don't actually deliver on this stuff, if we don't actually have the border taken care of, if we don't actually rein in the bureaucracy, if we don't actually open up energy, if we don't do all the stuff against Biden, then it'll be, stop some of the bleeding, but it won't reverse the trend. And the only way you reverse the trend is by putting up big victories. And that's what we'll do as President of the United States.
And this is why I endorsed so early. Everything he was doing was what I wanted for Iowa and for my kids.
And legislation that you had worked on and led, universal school choice.
First Lady, candidates struggle in the process. It's hard. It's grueling.
Not this guy.
But you've chosen, you've got a young family, but you've actively chosen to step up and be an active role in this and be an active voice. Talk to me about why you're being so engaged in this process with the governor, and tell me what that means to you and what that means to your family.
Yeah, no, so I appreciate that question. And so, there's a lot of reasons why I'm out here fighting, because I've seen him as a dad of a 7, 5, and a 3-year-old. I see why he fights for his kids, for your grandkids. I've seen him as somebody who, when he had opportunities to do other things, he decided to join the United States military and become a naval officer and deployed to Iraq in 2007 to be a part of the Navy SEAL Team Command Staff, SEAL Team 1, as an advisor to the SEAL operation on the ground. He did that after 9/11 because he wanted to give back to the country that had given him so much, and also to fight for what makes America great. So you see that. I have seen him up close and personal with all of the fights that he has taken on, and he talked about it, whether it's the teachers union, whether it's Disney, whether it's defending and standing up for law enforcement. I mean, the list goes on and on. I've seen that. But, you know, one of the things that really makes me want to get out and fight was particularly the battle during COVID, right? Because the entire world descended upon the state of Florida and Iowa to go after your governor and this governor for every move that they were making. I mean, he was keeping the schools open, and they were criticizing him. And whether this was trying to allow people to have the opportunity to work, to put food on the table for their families, I mean, every single thing he was doing that was right, they were coming after him, whether it was the left, whether it was Republicans in Washington, whether it was the media. And every single day, I saw him get up, go downstairs, get a cup of coffee. He would arm himself with the evidence and the facts and the data coming out of places overseas like Sweden and Spain and United Kingdom and Israel. And then I would watch him every single day get out and fight on behalf of the American people and for our constitutional system, for our God-given rights to be able to go to church and worship. They were shutting down churches in the midst of this. They don't have the right to do that. And so it wasn't even just a blip on the radar where they were getting hit one day and the news was going on to the next thing. It was day after day. And I was getting lobbied at the time. People were calling me saying, it's over for the governor. He opens at schools. That's it. He's done. You know, if he doesn't do mandates, that's it. And you know what? I saw him through everything like a rock. And he just stood up and he said, you know, if it means that I lose my job re-election because I stood up for the people of Florida jobs, so be it. And so when you have a unique perspective of seeing somebody who's willing to take the hits, the flaming arrows, on behalf of the people, that they were elected to represent, I feel I have a duty and an obligation to get out and sing his praises in the rooftops. I would not be able to look at myself in the mirror, knowing what I know about him. He's a good man. He's in it for the right reasons. He's the guy we need at this moment in our nation's history. And man, I'll tell you what, you're going to see me in every part of Iowa and beyond talking about why we need this guy now more than ever.
And she's very effective too at doing that. I ran into a fellow today, and he had been a Trump supporter. He saw me speak and met me, and he's like, you know, that caused me to go back to undecided. I was still weighing my options, but then once I met your wife, that's when I knew I had to support you. And he's kind of got my whole family now to do it. So, and it all goes back. Actually, it goes back to the first campaign we did for Congress back in 2012. I had never run for anything. Nobody knew who I was. And we were like, okay, we're just going to knock on the doors of the primary voters. And so I bought her an electric scooter. I loaded up in my pickup truck. I dump her at one side of the neighborhood. I'd go to the other side. We'd knock, we'd come. And like when if you're in like a primary, especially for Congress, a lot of people aren't well known. Just showing up at someone's door and shaking their hand, a lot of them are going to vote for you at that point. And I converted a lot. She converted 99% of the people whose doors she knocked on. So this is nothing new.
Do you remember the day of the election, though, with that scooter that you gave me? So the weight, because it was very heavy, right? And this is before the scooters were cool, right? Now you see them on all the college campuses, but this was like novel back in the day. It was like a little $200 thing. But the weight, it was heavy. So what I would do is I would put it in the back of my car, and then to charge it at night, I would just stream the cable out the window into the outlet, so I didn't have to take it in and out of the back of the car. Well, the day of the election, I was so nervous that I forgot that it was plugged into the wall. And I throw my car into reverse, and I'm coming out of the garage, and all of a sudden, I rip the thing out of the wall, not just out of the plug, like the wall came apart, which was not great. And it starts sparking, and it's hitting the side of the car, and I'm like, run, help, what do we do? All was fine. I got in, we voted, it was good. But we had some adventures along the way, but it was a lot of fun. It was fun.
It's fun to watch you two with the kids, too. So you have the kids with you a lot when you're campaigning in Iowa. That's been fun to watch that. I know the one day we did like 3 or 4 events. It was the last one. It was a long day, and those kids did great. And Casey, you were up there with one of them, I forget, and then I turned around and she was gone. And you know, anybody that's got kids, I look out and she's playing tag with the kids outside of the farm just to help them burn off some energy before they got back in the...
It's funny, we did do one event where you were up and you were doing a town hall, but Mason wanted to play football more than anything else, so we're out behind you throwing the football back and forth because he couldn't wait.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they've done very well, being on the road. And our thing is like, we just want to be with them. We don't want to be away, so we incorporate. And I thought about with some of the things with our kids, like on the whole political thing. So our first inauguration, Our oldest was 2, Mason, our son, was 9, and Mamie wasn't even born yet. 9 months. Wasn't even born yet. So, terrible too, not good to sit through an inauguration. So we didn't even tempt fate with Madison. We're just like, forget it. So, but Mason, what we did is, once you take the oath, Casey's there, and she held Mason for that photo. And then when I went to give the speech, she held Mason. We did that. So we had those pictures. But then we're like, for this second inauguration, we're like, you know what? We kind of wish we had Madison there. Now we have Mamie. So it was Madison 6, Mason 4, Mamie 2. We're like, we got to get them all. So literally for weeks, we would say, guys, inauguration, you're gonna be good, you're gonna do, and we got them, and we did it, and they were good. So the day before the inauguration, we went out and did a dry run. So they have kind of the platform out in front of the old state capitol in Florida, very good. And basically, we were just like, okay, we're gonna tell the kids what they need to do. So we go out, where we're sitting kind of right in the front, and it had the names on the seats. And it was me, Mason, Casey, Madison, and Mamie. And so that's what we practiced. And then we did it. And they were really good. And so then we're like, all right. So then the next morning we go. We're walking out, all five of us walking down the steps going. They go, and all of a sudden the kids have a meltdown. And we're like, what happened? They changed the order on the seats. So the kids had practiced it. That's how we practiced it. So the kids are fighting because Mamie doesn't know how to spell her name yet, and they're going here and all of a sudden, so we had to take Mason and Mamie, get them off the stage. Mason cooled down very quickly, came. Mamie, it took a little while longer, and then we did it. But it wasn't their fault. I mean, like, if you're going to do a practice run, why would you change it? And not only that, they asked me, like, Governor, what do you want? And I'm like, look, I'm very low maintenance. I was like, the only 2 things that I want is my first inauguration, you have a teleprompter there. And the teleprompter was right in the sun. So like you couldn't see that part of the teleprompter. And then the one over here was halfway cut off. So I'm like just kind of flying. I'm like, listen, like if I have to memorize a speech, I will. But if I'm going to have a teleprompter, I want to be able to read it. And I was like, so that's the one thing. And then the other thing I remembered was I couldn't fit my remarks on the platform on the podium because of where the microphone was. So we go the day before I go. Written remarks, right there, no problem. Teleprompter's perfect, good. I'm like, I am good. I don't need anything else. I'm ready to roll. Next, you go out to the real thing. The one teleprompter fell down, was out of commission, and then they put a microphone right in the center of the podium so that the remarks couldn't even fit onto the thing. So like the remarks are halfway off. I got no teleprompter there, and I'm just kind of trying to wing it, and it was fine. We did it. But it's like, all we asked for is a cute little thing.
Yeah, it was. And it was funny because I think that's the only 2 times you've ever even used a teleprompter, and it didn't work the 2 times that you ever. So technically, you've never used one.
I don't think. Yeah, the only time I've used one that's actually worked is the State of the State speeches that you give in front of the legislature. The 2 inauguration speeches, it did not work, and you just had to roll with the punches.
Well, Governor, let's fast forward. Let's hop in a time machine. Am I working?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's hop in a time machine. 4 of us, we're going to hop on. We're going to go view the United States in I don't know, let's fast forward 8 years, because do you know what you have? 8 years, not 4.
That's right.
Let's hop in our time machine and fast forward the United States 8 years. You've been president for 8 years. What do you want America to look like? What do you want to have accomplished? What do you want for us as Iowans to see out of the work that you've done on our behalf for 8 years?
A number of things. One, we'll have been able to say we restored the American dream in this country. People that work hard, get the most out of their God-given ability, are going to be able to get ahead again. Not going to be held back with inflation and interest rates and bureaucracy and all the things that have made it more difficult. Number 2, we'll be able to say that we restored our nation's sovereignty, particularly at our southern border. Not going to have drugs pouring in, millions of people pouring in illegally. We will have actually finished that job and secured it once and for all. We'll be able to say that our military's been revitalized, that we fended off the threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party, and that this century is indeed an American century. We'll be able to say that the schools are dedicated to educating kids, not indoctrinating kids, that we're going to protect the rights of parents to make these decisions about their kids' education, including school choice, and we will have reinstalled civics as something that's important to know all across the country. We'll also be able to say that whether you live in a red state or a blue city, that criminals are held accountable for their crimes again. We're not going to have let the inmates run the asylum, and people will be able to raise their family in peace and security. And then we'll be able to say that we've restored the Constitution as the centerpiece of our American national life. That means not having a runaway bureaucracy that looms over us, imposes its will on us, and is weaponized against us, but actually having constitutionally accountable and limited government the way our founding fathers intended. And if we can say we did all those things, and we'll do more, but if we can say we've done all those things, then we'll also be able to say that we restored what President Reagan called America as a shining city on a hill. We will have left her stronger, we will have left her freer, and that ultimately is the task that we face. On the current trajectory of this country, we're in danger of leaving to our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. And if we do that, we'd be the first generation of Americans to do that and to break faith with every other generation who's always worked hard, always stepped up when freedom was threatened and when they needed to do things to make sure that this republic endured. So that's the mission. We will be able to accomplish the mission, and the country will be better off for that mission.
And that's an America I want to see. Governor Reynolds, you look in this room, you know a lot of these people because they're your constituents. They're my constituents. These are people that we work for, right? I want, because the paths that both Iowa and Florida have taken have been so similar, I want you to take a moment to address your constituents and talk to them about some of those heavy lifts that we did this past legislative session. These are mamas and grandmas who love their babies. And I want you to take a moment and just talk straight to them about what that process was like and why it meant so much to you to get those big things across the finish line this year as we work through that legislative process.
Well, thank you for that. And first of all, I just want to say, because there are legislators in the room, and I'm speaking to one of them right here. I've known Amy for a long time. We both started in local government, and now you serve as the president of the Senate. And so we have a really good working relationship with our legislature. And Ron, you've talked about this before too. You know, I don't just get to will things to be done. You know, we work together and we talk about what's important to Iowans and how we can get it across the finish line. And just when we talk about parents, when I said parents matter, it wasn't just a campaign slogan. It was a promise, and working with the legislature, I am proud to say that we delivered. And this is what's unbelievable. We did it in the first 2 weeks of the legislative session. So I thought with the victory that we had with this last election, I didn't win by 20, but almost 19. So we both, Ron and I, had rough starts in 2018. It was a horrible year for Republicans, and I didn't think to get a mamas for DeSantis or for Reynolds together. I should have. But worked really hard and made promises to the individuals, to the constituents that we serve. And what Ron just laid out, talking about what this country will look like in 8 years, the reason that you can take that to the bank is because he did what we did. He followed through with 100% of the promises that he made to the constituents that he serves, and that's just such a novel thing. It doesn't happen very often. It just doesn't happen. You know, I'm proud to say we did the same thing working with the legislature. We passed universal school choice. We did a parental rights bill. We brought transparency into the classroom. So sad to say that we had to put in statute that the parents will be the primary decision maker in their child's education, but that's a fact. That's where we're at, and we're not taking any chances. We're going to continue to return your hardworking money. I've cut taxes 3 times working with the legislature, and we're going to do it again next year. So significant change in the individual income tax rate from 8.98 down to 3.9 flat and fair. So a lot of our retirees were heading down to Florida, and I don't care if they go to Florida. I want them to go down there and enjoy that warm weather, right? Here's one we got a lot of them in Iowa. We got a lot of them that go down there, but I want them to stay an Iowa residents, and so we had to no longer tax your retirement income, and so, woo! So they are still going to Florida, and we want them to do that, but we're going to keep them as a resident.
And, you know, I welcome the Iowans to come down to Florida. I usually would never even think of needing to come to Iowa in the winter because I just go to Marco Island and I see so many people. But I do want you to, before you come to Florida or go back to Iowa for the caucus, make sure you don't miss that. I think it's important. So I've talked to a few folks up here who said, yeah, we're going to go right after New Year's. And I'm like, okay, you're going to turn around and go back to caucus on the 5th? And they're like, well, probably. No, not probably. Let's make this a plan. So hopefully we're able to get that done.
And just lastly, Ron's laid out a lot of it. So what I always say is if you like what we're doing in Iowa, again, you're going to love what he's doing for this country. So an effective leader that'll get things done. And we cut government. I want to take some credit for that. It was a 1,700-page bill. I cut 21 agencies from my cabinet. I went from 37 down to 16, projected savings of $215 million. I believe that is conservative. It will be more than that. Our government is too big. You talked about that too. So I cannot thank the legislature enough. That was a big, big bill. And I said, you know what? We can't amend it very much because that's a big bill to bounce back and forth. So we did a lot of work on the front end to get it to where it needed to go. Oh, thank you.
Well, and I mean, you know, you see, I mean, all Republicans say they want less government, but how many Republicans actually follow through and give us less government and actually reduce the size of government? And I think what you guys did in Iowa is probably the top in the country in terms of now we've eliminated 2 agencies since I've been governor, and we have the lowest percentage of employees per capita of anywhere in the country. But here's the deal. Our budget in Florida is half of New York's budget, even though we have millions of more people now. But when the New Yorkers move to Florida, they tell me, oh my gosh, your services are so much better. Your roads are so much better. Your education. Okay, well, where is all their money going? You don't need that size of government to be able to do what the people want. That's just the reality. And so we need to take the lesson of Iowa and Florida and bring it to Washington, D.C. and downsize that federal bureaucracy.
All right, panel, Governor, First Lady, Governor. I'm going to ask you one last question, brief answer, because I want to give the audience an opportunity if they'd like to engage. Tell me the one thing that you do intentionally to keep your focus in this crazy world of politics that you're in, to keep your focus on your family.
Well, you schedule time, you make it happen. I mean, if you don't, your day just gets consumed. And so you have to be intentional because I am a better governor, I am a better person. They keep me grounded, they keep my heart full, and I'm better when I'm surrounded by my family. So whether that's me setting at a basketball game, cheering Gavin on and telling that other side, telling the ref to get him off of him, it's fouling him, and that young boy looked at me and then he looked back again and it was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. The grandma came out, I forgot I was a governor, I was just a grandma. So it's just, you just make time because it's the most important thing in my life is my family.
I know, I agree with that. And I mean, being present, I think, is really important too. So when you're there with your kids, you know, listening to what they have to say, you know, just reading with them. And, you know, what I try to do is, yes, there are things that we can do for me in particular as the First Lady, an honor to be able to have the opportunity to help the people of Florida and put forth various initiatives. But when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids, right? When we're sitting down, we're at dinner, it's all about the kids. When we're reading books and doing homework, it's about the kids. When we're reading stories at night, going to bed and taking bath, it's not multitasking. It is, you know, I am with them, and I think that's just really important.
Yeah, I mean, we bring them a lot with us on the road because what I had done as governor is no matter how busy the day was, I would make sure I flew home at night. Sometimes I get there for dinner, but even if I didn't, when they go to bed, or even if I miss their bedtime, I wake up in the morning when they're there. And so I rarely spent a night outside of Tallahassee for you know, my entire term as governor and into the second term. Now, when you're doing this, you obviously, I'm not going to go back and forth from Iowa or New Hampshire and then turn around and go back. So we've brought them. I mean, of the 99 counties, I would say our kids visited a majority of them with us. And so that's just something that we want to make sure that we're spending time with them. It's been quite an adventure for them. They've had fun with it. We don't want them to do anything that they're miserable with, but they really like it. They like doing it, and it's been really, really fun for our family.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an incredible conversation, but I want to give you an opportunity. I'll take 1 or 2, maybe 3 questions if the answers are within the time frame. I want to give you an opportunity to ask your questions of either of our governors or the First Lady. Does anybody have anything that they'd like? Yes, ma'am.
From what part of California? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Big difference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go here. I view eminent domain as something that is narrow, and it needs to be done with a public purpose, like building a road or something, and that if it's private company, I think that they should try to negotiate with people, would be the way I would do it. So I'm going to go back here first.
Acutely aware that the corrupt corporate media desperately touching for straws that seem to utter irrelevance. The average voter is aware of this. They also freely admit that this same corrupt media attacks you more relentlessly by far than any other candidate. Yet, quite curiously, so many fail to draw the only possible logical deduction, which is the reason why this media, which wants so desperately for the Democrats to win, attacks you more than anyone, is that they do not want you to be the nominee. It's so obvious to me. Why do some fail to see this? It's thing that is so conspicuous.
I think people are seeing it. I think more and more will. I mean, the whole election process, the year before the presidential election, a lot of people are not living and breathing this. And I even here in Iowa, very conscientious voters, we've just now really started to see, I think, an increase in people that have really engaged in the process. I think a lot of this stuff breaks very late, especially when you have something at the beginning of 2024. So I would stand by for that. I think you're going to see people get that, and that's the thing. The left, the one thing they do is they be very clear about who they fear, because you can see the way they behave. And I've had more incoming than anybody else. I've also had more money spent against me than all the other Republicans combined. And there's money now, like some of the stuff they're doing in Iowa. That's from people like really left-wing billionaires in Silicon Valley that are putting money into this Haley operation. You've got people that are liberal Democrats that were big Hillary supporters pumping money into that. And there's a reason, because I think that they see me as the only one that's really a threat to the power that they've accumulated. And you know what? They're right. They're right. So we'll see that.
I'm a part-time New York resident, and Kim or Ron, could you please help me straighten Hopeful out?
I'll let you take that one.
We tried. So I was up there. I went up there to campaign in Long Island last election, and there was a massive crowd, and our candidate was doing very well. But I think part of the things that happens, so Florida used to be decided by like 1 point, right? So when I got elected governor, I'd be going, I'd meet all these transplanted New Yorkers, and they'd say, I'm just so glad my vote counts now. In Florida, my vote counts. Well, it turns out that, I had 1.5 million votes to spare, so I didn't need those. If every transplanted New Yorker Republican could have voted in the governor race, Republican would have won the governorship. I mean, that likely would have happened, and the New York race was much closer than the Florida race. So you see how these things kind of go back and forth. But I think that's part of the problem with California, Illinois, and New York in particular, because they're driving people away in record numbers. You know, California had never lost population prior to Newsom becoming governor, and now they've hemorrhaged, I think, a net 800,000 have lost, which that's tough because when I was in the Navy, I got stationed in Coronado, Southern California. Beautiful, beautiful state, more natural advantages than probably any state, and they never lost population, yet the policies are so bad, people are fleeing that. New York, Illinois, same deal. The problem, though, is that you say, okay, well, things are bad, don't we want to go the other direction? But they're driving off more conservative-leaning voters. And so the base of the opposition is actually getting somewhat smaller. And so it's kind of a vicious cycle. That's why, like Chicago, you have the previous mayor, cities in disarray, liberal policies, and they elected somebody that was more liberal than the previous one. Are you kidding me? I can tell you this, real estate values in Naples went up after they did that, and that's just what happened. So it's frustrating to see because, look, it used to be you'd have differences between Republicans and Democrats, and that's fine, but now it's like when you get kind of this leftist ideology in place, and like San Francisco, it collapses. California, they got like a $50 billion deficit now. Crime is increasing. As much as he wanted to say in that debate it wasn't true, it is true, as people are leaving because of it. And so the whole quality of life really, I think, gets destroyed because of the left-wing ideology. And that's unfortunately the direction that the country's going in now. And if you have another 4 years of this, you're going to see America really, really hit the skids, and we can't let that happen, and we won't let that happen.
So last question. That does need applauded. You're right. Sorry. So I'm so sorry, Artie. Last question in the back of the room.
Thanks. Well, then you go ahead and do this one since we did.
Because it was just a comment, you go ahead and ask your question, and we'll wrap it up with you.
Real quick. Yep. As she said, we spent probably 4 months out of the year in Florida during the winter, and I was so impressed with you there that I was writing for our friends who live in Florida saying, get that man to run for president. And finally that. So I used to be the last election.